Hi and welcome to the solar eclipse in Aquarius. A solar eclipse is like a new moon, but a bigger new moon. So every new moon is a fresh start, it's an opportunity to plant a seed and to allow it to grow until the next full moon in the same sign. But when it's a eclipse, a solar eclipse, it is a little bit more like a wild card. It can bring in change out of the blue, especially if the solar eclipse triggers our natal birth chart. And the changes that can come with it can have a bigger impact than just from a new moon. So because of that, this is an important lunation, and it's even more important if we consider it that it kicks off the Chinese New Year of the Fire Horse. And even though it's not a full eclipse, it's just a partial one, it has a lot of strong energy for several reasons that we're going to dive into in this video. Now, before we even get started, I just wanted to quickly mention that the Chinese New Year of the Fire Horse is very it very much flows with the astrological themes of 2026. This year that we're entering here is going to be a lot more fiery, a lot more momentum, and a lot more changes. In Aquarius, always wants a variety of new things, and it wants changes, especially on a collective level. And so I find it very interesting that it is a Aquarius new moon solar eclipse that starts off this Chinese New Year, and it brings in that really fresh start of much more fire and air energy than what we've had last year, for example. Let's get into it. Aquarius is an air sign. It is a fixed air sign, and it has to do with a variety of different themes, but among them, it is a very progressive sign that wants to look into the future rather than the past, and it wants to create a world where there is more freedom, there is more truth, there is more equality, and we're all a lot more equal. So community is a very big theme for Aquarius. Human rights is a big theme. And because it's so orientated towards the future and so modern, technology and science are a theme for Aquarius as well. Now, the last month we've had a lot of planets going through the sign of Aquarius. Apart from the Sun, we have Pluto here now ever since late 2024, which is a very big deal, and it's slowly bringing in a lot of transformation in all the aspects of life that are related to Aquarius. For example, like I said, technology and science, they're both getting a boost through Pluto, so it becomes more powerful. But everything that has not worked so well within those areas will get more exposed, because Pluto tends to bring up those secrets and bring it to the light so that we can transform them and change it to the better, hopefully. And now we also have Mars in that sign. Mars is the planet of war, of willpower, of assertion. And it's not particularly surprising, if you ask me, that we've had a lot of revolutions in the world, a lot of people standing up for what they believe is right, going to the streets, protesting, especially really demanding more justice and more freedom, and, everyone to be created equal. Now, on a personal level, Aquarius often has to do with our unique essence, with how we can show up as our authentic selves. And sometimes we might not be understood by everyone else, but that sort of bravery of truly being ourselves is what's going to help us create our community and our friends, those that truly vibe with us. And speaking about vibration, Aquarius is very much related to vibration, to energy, to electricity even. When we look at the symbol for Aquarius, we have those two glyphs, those two waves that speak to that as well. So all of these themes are going to be highlighted around the solar eclipse. And depending on where it falls in your chart, this is where you may want to break free from something and start something new that is more authentic and true to you, even if others don't fully understand it. Now, what makes this solar eclipse more powerful is that it is going to be square to the ruler of Aquarius, which is Uranus. The planet of Uranus was discovered when we discovered electricity, and it was a shock that we discovered Uranus because we thought this is it. After Saturn, there's no more planet that we can see. And so it's like a paradigm shift that came through. And this is what Uranus stands for. It is very much a shocking sign that wants to change things up. And when we have Uranus now squaring, which is a challenging aspect to the new moon exactly, there is even more of that urgency here to break old stale things up. Uranus has been in Taurus ever since 2018, and Taurus is a sign that does not like change as much. It wants stability, it wants security, it wants a peaceful life in nature. And now with Uranus moving through there, we had to, all of us to some level, some more than others, experience what it's like to just feel like some of that security is not as, we cannot take it as granted, and there's just going to be changes where we maybe hold on to what's familiar even more so. And so now at the late degrees of Taurus, where Uranus is now, squaring the new moon in Aquarius, there is a true choice point of, are you going to hold on to the past that doesn't serve you anymore, or are you going to let go of that grip, trust yourself, and allow the new thing to come through? Okay, make those changes and go with them. So around that time, your nervous system might be quite jazzed up. You might feel a little wired. Everything might feel like a lot. There might be a lot of information coming in. So it is important that you take good care of yourself. And if we look at the chart for this new moon, we see that Jupiter is still in the sign of Cancer. And Cancer is all about self-care. Jupiter expands that. And it says, look, if you want to make those changes, if you want to break free from the old, if you want to go out into the uncertainty and leave behind the familiar, you need to be able to, make enough space for yourself to feel strong within yourself. And that can be just as basic as making sure you drink enough water, you eat enough food, you get enough sleep. You might need to go and take a shower to ground yourself, or a bath to cleanse yourself on an energetic level. You might need to go outside into the nature, and Aquarius has to do with the internet, so there's a lot of that around these days, obviously. So you may need to just be a little bit more in nature and ground. Whatever it is that helps you to come back to your center, that is going to be very important if you want to make those changes and not feel too jazzed up about it. And then the other thing that we still have going on in this chart is some Pisces energy. So the North Node, which is where we want to go towards on a soul level, in Pisces, brings in that sense of, okay, how about you let go a little bit and trust? Okay, we're going to have to trust ourselves that we can flow with these changes. And Pisces is a mutable water sign, so it does flow, and it does allow itself to be carried to the new rather than forcing its way through. Now, what is so beautiful about this solar eclipse is that we've got Venus right next to the North Node. So that makes Venus more strong. And Venus loves being in Pisces because it's such a gentle and gracious and creative place for it to be. And, sometimes Aquarius can be a little much too in its head, too much in its theories, and maybe can sometimes be a little disconnected from the heart. And this is where we bring in that hard energy. Sometimes Aquarius, because it's so fixed in its ideas of what's right and what's wrong, can maybe have a hard time to relate to people that see things from a very different perspectives. And this is where Venus in Pisces, together with the North Node, says, hey, let's be compassionate, let's be kind, even if we don't understand them, even if you think what they're doing is wrong. Like, you know, that grace. Can we give these people some grace? And can you give yourself some grace for maybe where you feel like you should be, but you're not, or whatever it may be. That just that gentleness. Let's bring in some of that gentleness and make sure you use that energy too around this time. And now we come to pretty much the biggest thing happening in this chart, which is something that astrologers have talked about for many, many, many years, and truly, it's spectacular. And that is that we have Saturn and Neptune in Aries, and just a few days later, on the 20th of February, they will be exactly conjunct, meaning exactly together at the Aries point, at 0 of Aries. Now let's break that down. Saturn is the planet of, you could call it the 3D world, the reality of, the hard work, the discipline. Sometimes it brings with it some limitation. That's where we have to become mature adults and we work for something long term that is part of our integrity. We take up responsibility. So it's not a very soft planet at all. It's quite a planet that demands quite a lot of work from our side. And then we've got Neptune. Now Neptune is the planet of the underworld. It is suddenly seeing things from a whole different perspective. Like you would go on the water and have goggles for the first time and open your eyes and see what that world is like. So very different from the outside world up top. Or it is when you, let's say, take drugs or go deep into meditation, where you just experience a whole different version of reality that is not the Saturn reality of this is what life is. This is the chair and this is the table and whatnot. And so when these both energies come together, it's a very interesting mix, right? So Neptune also represents our dreams, our visions, our intuition, and that brings that glamorous feeling sometimes, or just that it can be a higher octave of love as well, where it's very much about wanting to help others. It's a very beautiful energy, but it's very hard to pin down. It's very much more fluid in its energy versus Saturn, which is very more constricted. So when we bring those both together, we have the dream and the vision, and then we've got the hard work of Saturn. So making real the dream, that's what it really boils down to. What is it that you allow yourself to dream up, you to envision? That might be, maybe something that is bigger than what you have been dreaming before. And so what are you allowing yourself to dream up, and how are you going to make it into reality? Now, both of these planets in Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. 0 degree of Aries is pure potential, and it can manifest on a bigger stage as well in the world, like with more people seeing it, especially if you have planets or angles around the first two, let's say 2 to 3 degrees of Aries. But yes, what is it that you want to create in this life? Now, sometimes I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Saturn can bring in some sense of like limitation, and it just feels like really hard, and with Neptune, there can be a sense of disillusionment. There can be a sense of you just don't know, you feel kind of like foggy, you feel kind of confused. So that is the shadow expression of it. But when you allow yourself to push through that and to truly believe Neptune in yourself and in your ability, which also Aries is a very brave sign, you know, that doesn't necessarily have to overthink everything, but just goes for it. And you bring in the necessary work by Saturn, you can make it a reality. And this is the actual bigger message from this solar eclipse, because it is going to have a bigger implication for, to some degree for the rest of our lives, truly, if we truly make this work. So during this time, allow yourself to be brave, break free from the old, and see where Saturn, Neptune, 0 degree of Aries fall in your chart, what area of life needs a little or a lot more of your attention, where you believe in it, where you work for it, and where you're able to create something new and beautiful, truly. Now, let's get into back to the solar eclipse, the different houses where the solar eclipse could fall in for you and what that could mean for you potentially. So, if the solar eclipse falls into your first house, there is an opportunity for you to become a whole new version of yourself, truly stepping into a updated self-image that you have, that you're going to project outwards, but that also truly feels resonant within yourself. Maybe there's a new role, a new line of work, or just how you show up within your community or within the people that you surround yourself with, and embrace something about yourself that maybe before you felt like you have to hide or may not be fully understood. So allow yourself to be a whole new you if it falls in the first house. With the second house, there is a rethinking of your resources, of your self-worth, of your way to make money. And maybe there's a new way that you want to generate an income, for example, or there's a very progressive way of dealing with money that other people don't understand. A new way of defining your self-worth, that you really declare for yourself, hey, this is completely independent from what I've achieved or how much money I've got or whatever it may be. So all these themes come into the light for you. The third house. With the third house, your communication is going to be highlighted. Maybe the way you think about things is very unique and not everyone might understand. So allow yourself to say the things you want to say. Maybe it can be related to your siblings, to your neighborhood, to short distance travel. That all has to do with the third house as well. So how do you show up within that smaller community, that everyday sort of life with neighbors, siblings, school, learning, all these themes. But most importantly, how do you speak up? How do you express yourself? And how do you want to think about any topics? How do you want to relate to your mind? And how do you want to express yourself? With the fourth house has to do with your roots, with your home, with your family. So is there, maybe family is something that you want to define for yourself. Who is your family? How do you want to create your own family? It can be as simple as wanting to redecorate your house and really bringing in a fresh new energy here. Maybe some feng shui that you want to incorporate in your life. Or it can be embracing that maybe you felt like a black sheep in your family growing up, and now you're healing a part of that, of yourself, or allowing yourself to have a whole different way of creating a sense of family and home that maybe others don't understand. In the fifth house has to do with joy, with creativity, with self-expression. So allow yourself to be weird, to be different, to be new, and allow your art to be a reflection of that. If you create art, your creative projects, or even in dating life, if you are potentially single or you're even in a relationship, maybe you need more freedom than other people, and that is okay. So just redefining how you want to relate to those themes and being true to yourself, that is an expression of the 5th house. The 6th house has to do with your daily routines, with your health, with your work environment. Maybe routines are something that, cannot be too rigid for you. You need some fresh energy there. You need a variety of new things that you want to try out, or maybe there's a new medicine that you want to incorporate for your health. That could be an expression, or just maybe you want to change your job or relate very differently within your work environment. And again, in this area of life, you want to allow yourself to be true to yourself. The 7th house, this has to do with relationships. One-on-one relationships, intimate relationships that may be romantic or just business or friendships. Allow yourself to truly be yourself here. Give yourself the freedom that you need. Maybe marriage is something that's very different for you than for a lot of other people, and that's completely fine. When it's the 8th house, we're talking about shared resources. We're talking about intimacy. We're talking about the intensity of life when it comes to taboo themes such as sex or death or the occult. And so you may be wanting to dive deeper in these themes and bring in a fresh new way of looking at them. Maybe breaking free from the past in some way, or redefining how you want to share money with a partner. There's a lot of different expressions that can come up with this. But here it is important to sort of go within a little bit and reflect and see what it is that you want to bring forward in the world here for yourself that is new. Maybe you want to dive into tarot, or maybe you want to truly break free from an old story that has been, with you for some time, and it's time to let that go. With the 9th house, that's a very expensive house, and it has to do with opening and broadening your mind. It has to do with higher education and also teaching others. It can have to do with overseas travel and going to different countries, and that way you can also open your mind and see things from different perspectives. And so here is a fresh start. Maybe you want to move. Maybe you want to allow yourself to be a little bit more weird and different when it comes to teaching what's important to you, or maybe you want to start a new course that you want to learn, and you want to expand your knowledge in. So see if there's anything coming up with that. With the 10th house, your career may not look very traditional, and you may need to break free from what has been modeled for us, a very sort of conservative path of step 1, step 2, step 3. That may not just be you. And to find the integrity here to show up for what's important for you. Maybe you want to have your work be a little bit more humanitarian or related to science and technology, but in a way that benefits not just you, but benefits more than your own ego, let's just say that, and that has a lasting impact on the world. And it might just be that you need a fresh approach in your career. With the 11th house, so community and friendships are very important for you. It's important for you to understand that the more you are yourself, the more you're going to attract the right people into your life. And maybe there's some social goals or, visions that you want to pursue. So maybe there's something like, I want to really help the rainforest, or I want to make sure that we're doing a better job at recycling in my neighborhood. Whatever it is, there might be some social cause that you feel called to do. And so listen to that and see if you want to change something within that. Or it may just be relating differently to your friends and understanding which of your friends are the ones that are allowing you to be truly yourself, and which ones may not feel like it's worth to keep up that relationship. And in the last house, the 12th house, this is where we transcend our ego, where we move beyond just our personal life, and we want to merge with all there is. So it has to do with the subconscious, it has to do with meditation, it has to do with seclusion. So, check if there's maybe a spiritual practice you want to start, or a belief, an old, thing that's holding you back here, subconscious belief. But yeah, maybe listening in, like recalling your dreams, and sort of understanding what's going on in the more hidden realms, or even just taking more time out and spending time in nature, feeling like you're merging with the present moment and with all there is around you. That is all expressions of the 12th house. And here, if you want to break free from something, what is it that is holding you back on a subconscious level? And to dive into those themes would be very good for you. So I hope that has helped. If you are looking at the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, it is a very similar way of just looking at these different houses, different themes in your life, and then asking yourself, what is it that I want to create? Where do I have to be brave? Where do I have to trust myself and go for it? And like again, this big new moon solar eclipse brings in that fresh energy. It asks us to let go of whatever is stale, especially with Uranus squaring the new moon here, and asking us to trust our own abilities to move forward, even if we don't exactly know how the path forward looks like. But to just embrace that uncertainty, trust our inner abilities, that we've got it, and trust that we are protected and guided along the way as well. And that there is always community around us. That's what Aquarius really is about. And this might be a very good time to check in on your friends as well, and understand that, we're all going through, something at this time, and may need, that community and those friends to have that strength to keep going. So I hope that was helpful for you. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.